The topic of my speech is the legalization of marijuana across the country. The reason I chose this as the topic of my speech is because it is a very hotly debated topic in politics right now. The reason I believe I'm qualified to give a speech on this topic is because of the extensive amount of research I've conducted, as well as my personal experiences with people under the influence of marijuana and the effects it has had on them. The reason I'm giving a speech on this to an audience of my peers is because, one way or another, all of us have had or will have experiences with marijuana in the future, and none of us want to have to worry about the consequences of those experiences. Using evidence to support the idea that the laws surrounding marijuana were biased in its intent and creation, and how the misconceptions and ignorance around the effects of marijuana have affected the view of it, I will prove why the legalization of marijuana is the right decision. My first main idea is how the laws surrounding marijuana were biased in their creation. Richard Nixon, during his time as president, declared drug abuse as public enemy number one. Nixon was notoriously racist, and while that may not have been the only factor in the war on drugs, it very well may have been the driving one. According to John Ehrlichman, one of Nixon's domestic policy advisors during his time as president, stated that Nixon had two enemies, the anti-war left and black people. While he couldn't make being on the left and against the war illegal, and he couldn't make being black illegal, he got the public to associate both of those groups with illegal drug use, thus achieving his goal of disrupting both of those communities. In addition to that, the Drug Abuse Act of 1986 strengthened mandatory minimums and targeted minority communities, specifically black communities. While the example I'm going to provide doesn't necessarily correlate directly with marijuana, it goes to show how the war on drugs and acts such as the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1986 were racist in their intent. For example, the act I stated previously, if you were found with 28 grams of crack cocaine, the mandatory sentence for a first-time offender was 5 years. In order to receive that same mandatory sentence, if you were found with powder cocaine in your possession, you would have to have been found with more than 500 grams of it. While there is an argument about whether or not powder cocaine is less dangerous than crack cocaine, many believe that the reason for this disparity is because the crack cocaine is more commonly associated with black communities, while powder cocaine is more commonly associated with the more affluent white communities. While this example doesn't focus primarily on marijuana, it shows that the war on drugs and acts such as the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1986 were racist in their intent. My second main point is about how the ignorance and misconceptions around the effects of marijuana have altered people's views of marijuana. There was a study conducted by the Coronary Artery Risk Development in young adults that followed 4,000 young adults over a 25-year span until mid-adulthood. The study concluded that while there was an effect of constant use of marijuana on memory, there was no other effect on other functions of your brain, such as ability to process information or speed of processing information. Also, there is a fear that using marijuana can affect school and work. I will use a personal story about one of my best friends who smoked every single day of high school and finished with a 4.6 GPA. While I know that that is not possible for every person, I believe that is a case by case situation, and it depends on the person and how much they use marijuana. I do not believe it affects everyone the same. Ultimately, I believe that there are many reasons as to why marijuana should be legalized across the country. And while I only provided two of them, I believe that they are two of the most strong reasons to make a case for the legality of marijuana across the country. Thank you very much.